How do we get a stratified random sample? Let us first define what a stratified random sampling is. It is a method of sampling that involves dividing a population into smaller groups called strata. Singular is stratum. The groups or strata are organized based on the shared characteristics or attributes of the members in the group. That is according to investopedia.com. Now, example of this is dividing population according to gender, male or female, civil status, single, married, widowed, separated, age, it could be 18 years old and below, 18 to 25 years old, and other age range. And we have our favorite subject, it could be English, math, science, and others. That is what a stratified random sampling is. Now, how do we get a stratified random sample? Let us have this example. You want to know the reasons why and how students consider a subject as their favorite. You want to interview 300 students out of 200 whose favorite subject is math, 500 whose favorite subject is English, and 800 whose favorite subject is science. Let us define the following. Now, you want to determine why students and how do they consider a subject as their favorite subject. And in this particular problem, you want to interview 300 students, and that becomes now our sample size, which is denoted by lowercase n, which is 300. And we want to determine the number of students from each stratum. Okay, the strata here are the favorite subjects. We have English, math, and science. We have our sample, stratum, 200 whose favorite subject is math, 500 whose favorite subject is English, and 800 whose favorite subject is science. Now we want to determine how many students in each group will we get as part of our sample. Now, we can say that since we are determining 300 students, then we can say, okay, I'll get 100 for those who said their favorite subject is math, 100 for those favorite subject is English, and another 100 for those favorite subject is science. Now, if that is the case, you will have a bias sample. Why? Because remember that the number of students, 800, 500, and 200, is not equal. So we can have to do it statistically. And we have to do stratified random sample. Now, let us also define that the population in our problem is the sum of all students in the strata. We have the strata are 200 plus 500 plus 800 is 1,500. Thus, the population in this particular problem is 1,500 students. How do we get a stratified random sample in this kind of problem? Now, let us create a table with two columns shown here. The first column refers to the strata. We have the favorite subject, math, English, and science, while the second column is the population in each stratum. That is the number of students whose favorite subject is math, 200, whose favorite subject is English, 500, whose favorite subject is science is 800. Now, we have to determine the proportion of students from each group. How many students whose favorite subject is math will be interviewed, and those students will be part of the sample, which is 300. Now, to do that, we have to follow this formula. We have sample size, 300 over population, which is 1,500, multiplied by the population in each stratum. Let's do that using our calculator. Now, we have sample size again, 300, divided by the population, which is 1,500, and the quotient is 0.2. We multiply that quotient by the population in each stratum. In the first case, we have 200, and we have 0.2 times 200, that is 40. Now, we insert another column here to the right, and we label it as the sample in each stratum. Okay, in this case, we have 40. That means we will interview 40 students whose favorite subject is math. Next, let us calculate the second one. Determine the sample size in the second stratum. We have, again, the sample size is 300 divided by 1,500, that is 0.2. We multiply the quotient by the frequency. We have 500, and we got 100 students. That means we will interview 100 students whose favorite subject is English. And lastly, again, we multiply 0.2 by the frequency, which is 800, and we got 160 students. We will interview 160 students whose favorite subject is science. And we can insert another row below, and we sum up. We have, again, the population is 1,500, and summing up, the sample now is equal to 300. That is how we do, or we determine, a stratified random sample.